Facebook and Cambridge Analytica face intense scrutiny, the US charges 9 Iranians in university hacks, and was Guccifer 2.0 really working for the Russian government? All that coming up now on ThreatWire. Greetings, I'm Shannon Morse and this is ThreatWire for March 27, 2018, your summary of the threats to our security, privacy, and internet freedom. Our Patreon is over at patreon.com/ThreatWire, and that is always the best way to support the show and will help us reach our next goal. So if you want access to exclusives, check out the Patreon link in the show notes below. And now, on to the news. And guess what we're talking about this week? That's right, Facebook. Again, a lot of news has surfaced regarding Facebook and Cambridge Analytica since we last discussed it on the show. Due to the concerns over security, I would also like to mention again that you can check out my 30-day security challenge that I wrote on my personal site, which is snubsy.com, which walks through security settings on Facebook. This week has surfaced some new information as well as Zuckerberg's response to the outrage. According to Mark Zuckerberg, who spoke publicly about the misused data last week, Facebook would be taking several steps to ensure better privacy of its users. This includes an app audit for any applications that had access to data before 2014, including a potential ban for any developers who don't agree to the audit. Developers will have restricted access to data, and the app will lose access to that data if the user has not used the app in 3 months. Lastly, Facebook is also introducing a new tool in the newsfeed so users can view and revoke data access more easily than going to the security settings. But it is not all sunshine and rainbows in Facebook land. In an interview with Motherboard, Kogan, the app developer whose app was used for data collection by Cambridge Analytica, felt that he was a scapegoat and was stunned to find himself at the middle of this crazy scandal. The money that his company did bring in was used to pay survey respondents, according to him. Now, Cambridge Analytica, since it is based in the UK, is also being confronted with possible legal repercussions as one Facebook user decided to pursue legal action against the company. After going through the European Union and English law, which allows for anyone to request data from Cambridge Analytica, he discovered that his American voter files were not being exclusively stored in the US, but rather with this company. So the American citizen sued for full transparency from Cambridge Analytica. On top of that, Cambridge Analytica, or CA for short, their offices in London were also raided in a 7-hour search on Friday evening by the Information Commissioner's office. Assessment and analysis of the data will be required before the ICO's next steps are published. This news broke soon after the CEO of the company, Alexander Nix, was suspended and an acting CEO, Alexander Taylor, was appointed. CA also stated that Wiley, who originally leaked the information to news sources, was not actually a founder of the company and was a part-time contractor for 1 year. Now, here in the US, Facebook is taking heat from attorney generals in New York and Massachusetts who are demanding that they undergo an investigation and hand over more details about its data handling. Users started a campaign called #DeleteFacebook, which Facebook said has not had much impact. Facebook security chief Alex Stamos is planning to step down from the company in August of this year. Now, with all of this unsettling information about Facebook arising, it should kind of come at no surprise that news surfaced about the incoming national security advisor and his ties to Cambridge Analytica. John Bolton's super PAC used CA in 2014 to build micro-targeting messaging to users from Facebook user data. It should be said, though, that using data in general by political figures to create targeted messaging is definitely not out of the ordinary. The FTC, in a statement late last week, also said that it is investigating the social network based on a 2011 settlement that forced Facebook to undergo privacy screenings for the next 20 years. This case was about the site's opt-in by default settings, in which a change to the security settings of the site automatically made previously private data from users suddenly public instead. Facebook did not claim guilt, though they did agree to these privacy screenings till 2031. Media outlets also started reporting on the Facebook app permissions, which have been widely known and scrutinized in the security industry, honestly, for quite some time. Facebook has the ability to collect metadata about calls and texts made or received on Android phones. Now, I should mention that same data cannot be collected via the app on iOS devices, so take note. As of Android 6.0, this can be turned off by going into the settings on your phone, choosing apps, then choosing permissions, and turning off whatever settings you don't want Facebook to have access to. Or you could do what I did a while back and just delete the app entirely off your phone. That totally works too. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice announced that they would be charging 9 Iranians with multiple cases from conspiracy to commit computer intrusions, wire fraud, and computer fraud to aggravated identity theft. Each of the hackers were affiliated or associated with the Mabna Institute of Iran, a company that has been behind many infiltrations of U.S. universities, foreign universities, private companies, government agencies, and even the United Nations Children's Fund. The Mabna Institute and the defendants involved stole 31 terabytes of intellectual property and academic data from universities and used email accounts of employees. This makes about 15 billion pages of data, including academic journals, dissertations, electronic books, and a lot more. The universities targeted by the group paid 3.4 billion USD for the research that was stolen, and 8,000 accounts were compromised, with more than 100,000 professor inboxes targeted across the globe. Many of these hacks were on behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control also sanctioned Mabna and the defendants for the activities. Now, during the announcement, the Treasury Department also announced sanctions against Behzad Mesri, who was charged for the hacking of HBO and the leaking of Game of Thrones last summer. The men are all on FBI's most wanted list, and they face arrest or extradition in more than 100 countries. The announcement comes just a week after the US government announced sanctions against Russia as well for alleged online propaganda during the election cycle, as well as attacks against US companies and electrical grids. Remember that hack of the Democratic National Committee, or the DNC for short, which happened back in 2016 during the US presidential campaign? Yeah, I remember that too. The individual behind the hack, who goes by the name Guccifer 2.0, slipped up and is now being tied to the Russian military intelligence called the GRU. Back in 2016, this hacker took full credit for releasing DNC documents to WikiLeaks, including stolen emails. Now, while his or her identity is still not certain, one thing has become quite clear. The person behind Guccifer 2.0 was allegedly Russian. That's been the theory for quite some time, but nothing tied them to being a state-sponsored hacker. Guccifer 2.0 hid themselves behind a VPN and they denied ties to Russia. But according to a post by the Daily Beast, which includes no technical information I might add, Guccifer once forgot to turn on their VPN, exposing their IP address and location during social media use. US investigators were able to find the IP address at the GRU headquarters in Moscow, linking Guccifer 2.0 to the state-sponsored intelligence agency. Now, if this is found to be true and the hacker is indeed tied to Russian intelligence, then the link could have serious implications for the Republican president, Donald Trump. If you are a Patreon patron, you can send in your favorite stories on the community tab to get featured in the show. I'm definitely looking for new stories each and every day, so send those in, patrons. I'm looking for them. Everyone who supports ThreatWire at patreon.com/ThreatWire, y'all are the reason that we can keep on bringing you news every single week. And we are on the way to our next goal, which allows me to cover the costs of upgrading all of this lovely equipment that you see here. And we will also open up a live video Q&A just for each and every one of our patrons each month. If you are already a patron, you get access to an audio RSS feed, first looks at show topics, polls, discussions just for patrons, and a whole lot more, and any little bit helps us grow the show, and thank you so much. Seriously, we appreciate it. And hey, check out these super cute fur babies sent in by some of our Patreon supporters. They're so adorable. Thank you for these brand new ones. I love them. They're adorable. Thank you very much. Check out the perk levels on Patreon, and thanks again for helping us keep this coming completely independent. And if you can't donate, hit that little subscribe button. Share it on your favorite social media page. It all helps. Thank you so much. YouTube.com/hack5. Thank you for subscribing. And with that, I am Shannon Morris, and I will see you on the internet.